Are we ready to go, guys? Okay, can we stand for the pledge? Oh, I guess we should better have the Airport Commission regular meeting of October 9th, 2025. Sorry, they have to retrain me. So we're going to stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have? Are we on now? Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Thank you very much. Chair Feakin,
Here?
Vice Chair Menelja, I believe is absent. Commissioner Zerl, absent. Commissioner Bailfield. Commissioner Caldwell is absent. Commissioner Kinesik.
Here.
Commissioner Wicker.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Can we have agenda approval?
A second.
Thank you. Scheduled public comments. Do we have HDL engineering? Okay.
You do. Good evening. Good evening.
Good afternoon. So you're going to update us on our projects and everything?
Yes, absolutely. If you guys are ready, I would like to share screen. I have a small PowerPoint presentation I'd like to show you guys, if that's all right.
That would be wonderful.
Give me just a second. I will see if I can get this to work. Do you happen to see the PowerPoint?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you again to the commission and the users and the city for allowing us to just touch base real quick with everyone and give you a brief update on a couple different exciting projects that are taking place at the Kenai Airport. I just went back and looked at some of the old notes, and I was at the Airport Commission doing a presentation for the Airport Master Plan back in November of last year. So it's almost been a year since I've had the opportunity to sit down with you guys and provide any updates. But I am excited to share with you where we're at with the master plan, where we're going to be headed over the course of the winter and into the next year. And then I'd also like to take a couple minutes to introduce to you guys the runway 0220R construction project that will take place next summer. With that, I'll go through the master plan slides here. So feel free to, by all means, ask questions or cut me off if you feel the need. I only have a few slides to go, but with that, where we're currently at with the master plan is, and again, for those of you that aren't aware, it's broken up into two different phases. And the way I like to look at the phases, phase one, I consider it the homework phase or the reconnaissance phase, where we do a lot of our research. What you see on the screen here is a list of all the different tasks or the deliverables that we have completed and are required to complete under the phase one of the master plan. We've been putting a lot of work into this project over the last 12 months. Anything from conducting airport inventory, identifying issues, completing the socioeconomic evaluation, aviation forecasting, facility standards, et cetera. We have been closely working with the city and the airport to provide these deliverables. I believe right now the city is wrapping up final review on a lot of these different tasks. But where I think we'll be headed over the next couple of weeks and into the month of November will be to catch any final changes or any comments on these phase one reports. And then from there, what we'd like to do is we'll regroup with the city. We'll probably schedule another public meeting to invite all of the airport, the users, the overall flying community, anybody who's interested, to share what we've learned out of the first phase of the master plan. What we'll transition into doing once we get through this next public update is we'll start working on phase two. A lot of what you're going to find in phase two is what I call the evaluation phase, where we take a lot of the stuff we learned from the homework phase and we implement it into what the airport's future is going to look like. Some of the key things that we'll look at doing here, big ones are continued public involvement. We want to share with the airport users what we've learned through our homework phase, what we've heard from the users about their needs, what they like about the airport, and what they'd like to see different. And then from there, we'll start building alternatives. We'll look at future development of the airport over the next 10 to 20 years. We'll be looking at capital improvement projects, how they tie to the airport and the city's financial plan. We'll come up with ways to implement these projects. And then, of course, we'll look at how they impact the environmental aspect of the airport, the federal regulations that we also have to comply with. And at the very end, we'll tie all this into what we call the final draft of the airport master plan. And we'll also look to do a final update to the airport's overall layout plan. So there's a lot of work going on, and I know I've probably touched on a number of things for the council here, or for the commission rather. I'd be happy to answer questions on individual tasks of work that we have completed, or maybe some steps of where we're heading next. But maybe what I can do, if it's okay with the commission, is I will leave some time here at the end of this presentation for some questions that I'd be happy to answer. Moving on to the next slide, I think is a good one. It just kind of highlights the schedule and kind of where things have been going. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I've been working on this with our team for a little over a year now, after meeting with you guys last fall and working through the 2025 season. We are pretty much through the end of the reconnaissance stage. Right now, what we'll end up doing is again switching into phase 2, when we'll start looking at implementation of the alternatives and the other work over the course of this winter. But right now, I think big takeaway for this slide is that we're on schedule. We anticipate these master plans to take a couple of years, but this first phase took us just under about 12 months to complete. We're hopeful that the 2026 phase 2 will take about the same amount of work. So with any luck, October, November of next year, you'll be seeing us again with final updates on the overall draft of the final phase 2 project. A couple of things just here on some project contacts. You guys have seen some of this before, but again, my name is Eric Jort. I'm one of the project engineers and civil engineers that work for HDL Engineering Consultants. We work under a term contract with the city of Kenai at the airport. A couple other names that you might be familiar with: Heather Campfield. She's one of our lead aviation planners that has been helping me take the lead on a lot of these different tasks, and has been working with the city, with Mary and Lee and some of the other employees over at the city, with just getting us closer and closer to the finish line on some of this work. And of course, Mary Bondurant, you guys are aware of and know who Mary is. Mary's stepping in as the acting airport manager, and she's been helping us as well. And it's just a resource for us as far as this project goes. With that, that's really all I have on the master plan. And I think before I jump into the runway construction project, maybe I will pause and just allow any kind of questions if there's any interest from the commission or from the participants of this meeting.
Do we have any questions? I don't think we have any.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. And maybe then with that, I will also remind everybody that there is a website that we have actively ongoing for the Kenai Airport Master Plan project. The website is very easy to remember. It's KenaiAMP.com, AMP standing for Airport Master Plan. But on there, you're going to find a lot of the same information. You'll see these PowerPoint slides on there. You'll have the opportunity to find contact information if you don't remember it from this meeting. And one thing I will add is that we also have a user questionnaire and a survey form and feedback forms on there. So if you guys have questions later on, or comments, or just feedback in general that you'd like to share with our group, we're all ears, and we'd be happy to hear from anybody. Hearing no questions or comments on the master plan, I do have a couple slides on the construction project for next summer. You might have heard some rumblings about this project through either the master plan interviews that we've done over the course of this year, or just through general discussion with people in the city of Kenai. But what we're anticipating for next year is a rehabilitation of the main runway at the Kenai Airport. That's runway 02L 20R. Another portion of HDL's team aside from working on the master plan, has been diligently working on the design for this rehabilitation project. This design's been ongoing for the last couple of years, and we recently bid the project and awarded the contract to a firm here in Anchorage, Quality Asphalt Paving, or QAP. They're a very high qualified firm that has done lots of airport work, but we are just in the beginning throes of getting contracts started. We haven't started any pre-construction meetings or anything of any nature that really has started the construction phase of this project. The reason I wanted to bring it up to the commission tonight was that we are eager to get started. One of the things that we want to jump on, of course, right off the bat, is the public engagement and letting the people know what's to be expected for next summer. The biggest takeaway there is that, yes, the primary runway is going to be closed, and what that will leave us with is use of the parallel taxiway, which will be used as a temporary runway. I'm going to skip a couple slides because I think this will be better served if I can show you guys a figure of an aerial image of what it would look like just from a project overview. So what you're looking at here is just an aerial image of the airport at Kenai. A majority of our work is this outlined polygon in white, which is going to be handling a lot of the pavement, lighting, and the navigational aid work tied to the runway. We'll be continuing our pavement limits out to the halfway points of the taxiways, which is primarily to get us outside of the runway safety area. But what you can see here, if you can see my cursor moving back and forth, is where we plan to put a temporary runway. Again, this will be on Taxiway Alpha. It's something that was done back in 2006 and in 2007 when the runway was rehabilitated last. At that time, they completely closed down the runway full width, full length for the entire construction season. And they operated traffic off of the gravel strip, the float plane basin, and off of this temporary runway off of Taxiway Alpha. So I anticipate a lot of questions and a lot of input from the users because I understand this is the main runway for the Kenai Airport. I know that a lot of commercial operators like Kenai Aviation, Grant Aviation, and Aleutian Airways regularly use this airport. I will say that I have been in touch with those operators, especially during the master plan process. We kind of let them know about this upcoming construction project and that we'd be engaging with them later this winter. Maybe a couple other things just to point out for the sake of the commission here. We have a couple of staging areas identified where the contractor will be, placing equipment and materials. But really outside of the runway and taxiway work, the only other improvements that we'll be doing as part of this project will be airfield drainage improvements to an existing storm drain that sits in the airfield on the northwest corner of the airport, as well as some replacement of wind cones. There's 3 supplemental wind cones that fall within the areas between the runway and the taxiway. Those are old and are going to be replaced under this project as well. If I could, I'd like to back up one slide and talk a little bit about, again, the scope of work. And again, just a little highlight of the schedule that we plan to anticipate for next year. As I mentioned, with the main runway being closed and the parallel taxiway and gravel runway being open, our goal is to mitigate impact to the users as much as we can. The best way we can do that is getting out front of everybody early and often and making sure that we can get the word out that this project is going to take place. Right now, it's anticipated for one construction season. And with any luck, we can get the summer weather we had this year, next year, get an early start on it come the springtime of 2026, and try to wrap up everything before the winter of next year at the end of 2026. And maybe a couple of things to add that I didn't touch on as far as scope of work that I missed. We'll be replacing some signage, all the edge lighting on the runway, and then there'll be some improvements to the existing nav aids. We'll be switching from VASIs to PAPIs, and we'll be replacing runway end identifier lights in kind. So again, I know there's a lot of work, and I covered a lot in just a couple of minutes on this project. It might be completely news for some of you. It might not be for others, but at this point, what I'd love to do is just take a pause and open the floor for any questions about either the master plan project or this upcoming runway construction project.
A quick question on the using the taxiway as a runway. You said it was used before, and that's what was looked at as a model for this project. Have you looked at the frequency of use back then during that project versus the frequency of use that is happening now, especially commercial?
No, that's a really good question to bring up. One thing we can do is we can take a closer look at that. I think, though, if I was to ask the FAA for an alternative as far as considering half-width construction versus using an alternative runway that is available, I think the FAA might lean on the safer option, which is to use the parallel taxiway regardless of the amount of traffic coming in, only because if we were to consider a half-width construction, it might cause more of an impact or become more of a risk than just using the parallel. But it's an interesting question, and it is something I'd like to look in a little deeper if that works okay with you.
Perfect, thank you.
You're very
Yes, I
welcome.
can comment on the runway using the parallel taxiway. I was flying off the runway last time we did this, and it worked very well working off of Alpha Taxiway. Raven, or maybe it was called Era then, was running the Dash 8s off of it, and it worked just fine as far as I remember. And we may have a greater frequency of flights now, but not radically different. I believe there was a little more air taxi use at that time. But I also remember in the early 90s flying off the runway when they were redoing it, and it was done half length, not half width, but half length. So that would be a little over 3,500 feet, 3,800 feet, something like that. There were a couple of issues came up with that. One airplane landed on the new pavement that wasn't quite open yet once. Nothing came of it, but my concern right now is just what the instrument approaches will look like, because we do get some weather in the summertime. Obviously, low fog would close things down completely, but I'm just wondering what the minimums would be on, say, a GPS approach this summer.
Yeah, that's a very good point to bring up and a very good question. And due to the fact that we are on the parallel runway, the idea is that we'll only be a visual temporary runway, and the instrument approaches will be null until we can get the main runway reopened. So poor weather conditions or IFR conditions, unfortunately, will be an issue because we just won't have the capability to get into that temporary parallel taxiway or temporary runway.
Yeah, the other concern I have for that is it's not just if it's IFR here at Kenai, it's if it's IFR for majority of the route and having to depart from Anchorage IFR, being able to get low enough to get into VFR conditions under an IFR flight plan so it can be canceled and utilize the airport. So it's not necessarily just local weather that's a concern.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. If we could get an approach that would get us down to 1,000 feet, that would be a really good thing.
Okay, I appreciate that. What I'd like to do is take some notes. I'll probably loop back with my design team and I'll talk with the FAA about some possibilities for something like that. And then I'd like to report back to this commission on what I can find out.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Just one other question on the, I guess you could call it a design issue on the new runway. In Anchorage, early September, I made a trip to Merrill Field, and I was very surprised to find that the new runway had a new number, and it was so new that none of the books, none of the online information showed it. And I wonder, is our runway heading going to change? Will it be 3 left and 2-1 right?
Very, very good. Yeah,
Wonder
very
if that's
good.
been looked at.
It has. It's a very good question. And I actually was a engineer of record for the Merrill Field runway design that you're talking about. And I can actually explain both of those. For Merrill's sake, what's happening there is that the magnetic declination proved that we needed to change the numbers on 725 to 826, which is why you saw the striping and the markings reflecting as such. What's happening at a higher level with the FAA and why you're not seeing the charts and things online being updated is for powers that are above me. The reasons they're not changing it are due to their understanding of 1634, which will change in the next couple of years. I think if I understand it correctly, the amount of effort it's going to take them to update, say, the Salmon Book and other public resources that are out there that identify the runway numbers is something that they'd like to do all at once when they update both 1634 and 725. So
That's
it's a
actually
little
ridiculous.
it's very ridiculous. The way that we understand it is that it's more or less out of my power. The one thing I tried to do with the airport was make this change at least on, say, the adip.gov website or on the chart supplements themselves, if anything on the plates themselves. But I've struck out and I've basically resolved this with waiting. But the one thing that we do have is we have a NOTAM in place that identifies the numbers changing from 725 to 826 as a temporary solution. But I wholeheartedly agree with you. I find it frustrating and confusing. The good news for Kenai, however, is that we looked at this declination and found that the numbers will not change during the time that we'll have the runway completely reconstructed. So it will still remain O2L 20R when we're finished.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I don't see more questions here.
Wonderful. Well, I just would like to thank you guys again for your time. And by all means, if you have questions later, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon.
Okay, moving on to unscheduled public, I guess we have no public comment other than that. So moving on to unscheduled, not seeing any. Looking for approval of our minutes for June 12th, 2025. I need approval for the minutes for June 12th, 2025.
Move.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Unfinished business, seeing none, we're going to move on to new business. We're going to look at our airport capital improvement plan, fiscal year 2026 through fiscal year 2030. So, Mary, do you have a report for us?
I do. I have a memo with the AI Airport Capital Improvement Plan attached that explains that after several discussions over the past month, it was decided to push back the taxiway rehabilitation project by 1 year. Next year is going to be the runway construction and also the apron crack sealing, seal coating, and striping. And that's in a perfect world to do that from May to maybe October. If for some reason those projects carried over, we would be right in the middle of another project with taxiway rehab of Alpha. So the FAA, I had some conversations with the FAA also. We have some hot spots identified out there, and they would like to take some time to look at those. A taxiway Echo coming off the runway and also down the small taxiway area. So my memo is basically seeking a recommendation that we move the taxiway Alpha and all of them 1 year, push it back 1 year in case something happens in the construction year of 26.
Comments, questions, concerns? Okay, so we just need a recommendation from us? Okay, can we have a recommendation, please?
Move to recommend.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to look at a special use permit to Life Med.
Excuse me, Chair.
Excuse me?
We need a vote on that, the final, we got a motion and
I'm
a second,
sorry.
but we do need a final vote on that.
Can we have just a unanimous Is that okay? Thank you, sorry. Okay, we're going to move on to look at our special use permit to Life Med Alaska for warm storage of an ambulance. Just looking for a recommendation.
Move to recommend.
Alaska came to the airport and they're looking for a place to store their ambulance. They use the Kenai Airport with their fixed wing during the winter time. And they're very excited being, have warm storage and keep that ambulance there over the winter. They're really excited to do that.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Okay, can I have a recommendation, please?
Move to recommend.
Second.
Okay, if no objection, looking for unanimous approval. Okay, moving on to reports. Mary, what do you have for us?
Okay, for my report, tomorrow we're having our multi-agency triennial exercise for the airport. It'll be held tomorrow the 10th. It'll last approximately 2 hours. It'll be from 11 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m. down at the north end of the runway, down by the gravel strip, and we'll be using the gate at the operations facility. So we see a lot of ambulances, and EMT and police, that's where they're headed. We're gonna have our preseason winter snow and ice control meeting October 22nd at 10 a.m. in the city chambers. This meeting's for all airport employees, tenants, and leaseholders. We'll have discussion on snow and ice control this winter. We've also last week, I completed the hiring of the winter temporary equipment operators. We were able to sign up 10 operators. 3 are slope workers, 2 on, 2 off. So, and we have Earl's coming back, Jim's coming back, Matt's coming back. So the whole crew is going to be here. We're excited about that. We're also, I'm working with city administration this week for interviews for the administrative assistant. We conducted, we've just finished with the 6th interview today, and we're gonna meet tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have a recommendation to hire an admin in the office next week. We're also very excited about the unveiling of the Bronze Bears around the end of October. We hung up a banner today out front. We're securing the area so nobody's going to be able to see what's going on in there. So we're very excited about that. We're going to have a Meet the Artist event when he gets here. We also have, are getting ready for winter. We're hauling sand, equipment inspections, wildlife hazing. The guys have replaced runway lights, signs, transformers, and the windsock. And we also have the October 22nd, I believe, we're having that preseason snow and ice control meeting. And hope to see everybody there and users on the field.
Okay,
So what's the date on the unveiling?
Well, we don't know yet.
Okay.
The bears are cast. Mama Bear will be cast this weekend. I'm getting the shipping information to the artist tomorrow. And I think, I'm not sure if Lyndon's gonna ship it in a truck or if it's a sailing. If it's a sailing, it's probably gonna be like 10 days from Seattle, but we don't know yet. It just hasn't finalized it, but we're really excited about it. They're looking really good. Christine and I are getting pictures all the time. So it's gonna be really cool.
And is the Meet the Artist going to be at the same time?
Yes, it's unveiling. It'll be a community unveiling, but a Meet the, right now our plans for Meet the Artist will be with the sponsors.
okay.
And I will let everybody know as soon as we have a date. We just don't know yet because we don't know when they're gonna get shipped and how long they're gonna take to get here. We will be blacking out the windows in the terminal too at the north end, so people are see. So, yeah.
Any other comments, questions? You have anything else for us?
That's my report.
Well, I just want to thank Mary and Christine both for all of the work they've done on the bears. It would not have happened without you guys. I mean, it just wouldn't have. We appreciate it. And we're delighted to see you back in that chair.
It's fun.
We would love
to
for you
see
to stay,
everybody.
but,
It's good to see everybody.
but thank you so much. That's all I have. So, Mr. Daniels, what do you have for us?
All right, I guess I'm up now. It always surprises me every time you think I'd be more ready. All right, keep it short. Our last meeting wasn't super long, but the most interesting part about it was we had some discussion that happened in regards to tent camping in the city on a lot during the personal use fishery. And so there's a lot of discussion about that, how to be handled. So we're pushing that to P&Z to explore the issue of tent camping along with RV camping. I mean, there's nothing in our code that says you can't. So basically the only requirement is you got to provide sanitation, and they provided a dumpster and a porta potty. So it's just some residential lot with some tents on it. So very, very interesting. That created a lot of discussion. So more to come on that. Other than that, it's been pretty quiet. We had an audit plan, administrative report, which looks like it's going to go well, and then more to come on the election results will be finalized next meeting, I believe. So it's nice having both the clerks in here. I can go look and go, is that right? Am I making stuff up here? So anyways, but if you have any questions, just let me know. That's my report.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Thank you very much. We see no additional public. Oh, sorry.
I thought everybody else was going to comment. I have one more comment. I found out a couple days ago that Crowley Fuel is going to be pulling their self-serving pumps, and they're not going to be replacing them.
Will the
So-
city pumps be open at the float pond year-round then?
Well, we're going to have to, Jim.
Yeah, otherwise I have to go to Soldotna.
Yeah, so I have a meeting, Terry and I have a meeting tomorrow morning with the Crowley people at 8:30. Because basically they're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Yeah, it's about worthless.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring it forward to commission and just kind of refresh my brain here on who's gonna be affected by this. Who's all, I need to know.
Well, I can tell you, first of all the private pilots on the field, all the private aircraft, you know how many there are.
Right.
And, you know, I work for Grant, and I can say that our mechanics are often in a spot where they have to drain fuel from the airplane to do maintenance, and then they need to go refuel. And we do training here, and we need fuel now and then. Quite often, the training is planned so that it goes through Anchorage. A training flight of 2 or 3 hours can easily end up at Anchorage, but what if it doesn't? The last couple of check rides I took were just running around the Kenai area, up and down the approaches. And we have that option of getting fuel here, and without that, and this is jet fuel, the city does not offer jet fuel, so that kind of makes a mess out of operating a maintenance facility and a training base. Sometimes Anchorage weather is down, and we've gone to Anchorage, for example, done an approach, and then come back to Kenai because we can't get into Anchorage. And now, because of the limited fuel that we carry, we are, we're down to our legal minimum of fuel, and we can't then go back to Anchorage after the weather picks up. We need fuel here. So this is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And Kenai Aviation has the same issue, I'm sure. I wish Jacob were here. He'd be saying something, but anyway, that's what I've got.
Yeah, and even on the low lead side for Grand Aviation, we do a lot of our Piper Navajo maintenance here now, from our aircraft that are based in the Aleutian chain. And so they fly in and out and will depart here full fuel. And so they need to fuel on top of all the training we do. But I just think of an airport's not an airport without fuel availability. And growth of an airport without that option isn't an option.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I talked to them about, the weekends and after hours. I mean, they have the truck, but they said they hadn't really thought about that yet, but I think they've been thinking about it since our conversation a couple days ago, because they're coming down tomorrow. And we'll see what our options. In the meantime, Mike and I, we got 700 gallons of fuel at the floatplane basin. We'll issue a NOTAM that, of course, the guys have got to measure certain wingspan will only be able to go over there. Of course, helicopters won't be able to go over there. We've had a lot of helicopter operations lately getting fuel there. Who is that? Blue,
The blue and white?
Yeah.
It's Maritime out of Homer.
okay.
So the fuel trucks will be available,
Well, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
right? So somebody wants to do a training flight on Saturday, that makes a mess. Just one comment. Crowley's been very unresponsive when we need a truck. It's way easier just to taxi over and do it ourselves. They're awful. Second, I guess, does Soldotna have jet fuel? The missionaries in Soldotna have avgas, but I don't know if they have jet fuel.
I don't know if they do.
They do operate some turbine airplanes, so I'm going to guess they do, but I
Yeah.
guess I need to make a field trip.
Does somebody sell fuel over there?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Mark,
Mark sells fuel?
Yep. self-serve.
Mhm.
I apologize. I didn't hear. Why is Crowley pulling out? Or what was the reason?
The state has, gave them notice that they need to move their underground tanks. And they haven't done that, and now they're under a deadline, which is the end of the month. So they have to get those tanks out of there, or, they'll probably be fined. So we've been racking our brain the last couple of days trying to figure out, an option. I guess there's something called a transfer pod or something, a setup you can put out there, but you'd have to have communications and, power. But I don't even know if is that legal? I don't know. So just something that happened 2 days ago, and so I just wanted to bring it to your attention and, just refresh me as to the effects of this.
Well, I'm not a pilot, but I think this is a stunning development that is very negative for our airport. I mean, it's just, you can't have an airport without fuel.
Yeah. Yeah, Monday through Friday, there's 8 to 5 doesn't, cut it. And I know there was problems in the past with Crowley because, getting fuel after hours. I mean, we get a lot of calls in the traffic that tells us they're coming in, and I'm like, you need to get a hold of Crowley and see when they're gonna be able to fuel you, because, they didn't, for a long time, they wouldn't come in after hours.
Sitting in this chair here, I'm not sure it's just after hours with Crowley. I think it's full
no,
time.
it's full-time from experience as an operator, there's reasons why the majority of fueling's done in Anchorage, and it's not price. And that's been going on for years, I mean, since I've been with the company. The other thing to consider is Kenai is a primary alternate for Ted Stevens. Anything happen, weather, anything, there's diversions. Any diversions here are going to need fuel. Yeah, this does need to be taken serious. There's options. Worked with Crowley through numerous airports throughout in the rural Alaska, and where everything is above ground. There's above ground tankage and card locks and all that those options are available. It's just the want.
So do we have any other choice for a vendor other than Crowley?
Have to see what they say tomorrow, I guess, see what they're.
The only thing I can think of is that Everett's does that approval for an FBO down at the end down there. Then most FBOs provide fuel.
Interesting situation.
Yes. Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing that forward. Okay, not seeing any additional public comment. Our next meeting will be November 13th. Will everybody be here? Okay. Okay, looking for commissioners' comments and questions?
The only one I've got left is what's the latest on the new airport manager?
No. Re-advertising.
That's okay, you can just stay. Anyone else? If nothing else, we are adjourned.